Hello, everyone. Welcome to Real Talk. I'm Rhonda Douglas Charles of Add No Adults, and I am the immigrant career strategist. Kim?
Hi, I'm Kim Andrews. I'm a career strategist as well as a leadership development coach. And I'm here to help align professionals or leaders with what we're our topic today.
And this space is really for those of you who are really here to move from survival jobs to thriving careers. That's our goal. So here's where we are headed today. Begin with the job market and the reality that we're facing. Then we'll decode the language higher trends. And Kim?
Yeah, we'll also spotlight quiet cracking, share our stories, and then move into how to reset the tools that we'll give you.
And you will hear practical strategies from me as well as leadership strategies from Kim.
Yeah, you
I'm
will.
sorry, but I'm having a feedback, so we'll
I
work
can
through
hear,
it.
yeah, I can hear a little bit of that feedback, Rhonda. Um, but I think hopefully you're still pretty clear. But what we'll do is we'll wrap up with micro goals, some action steps, and tools that you can take away right away and use.
So when it comes to the job market in 2025, there are a lot of factors affecting it. But the bottom is that the market is still shifted. And this shift is fueling cracking. Job openings are down. We are not seeing the growth that we needed. There are fewer opportunities available overall. There are more replacements than new hires. Companies are not expanding, and they're mostly filling existing spots. That means there's less upward mobility for professionals. Inflation is also squeezing households, and even though those of us with jobs, rising costs are putting pressure on workers' daily lives. So, and the fourth thing would be the skills gap. Skills gaps are growing, and the jobs that open often demand skills that professionals have not had been supported to develop. So, this combination of fewer opportunities, stall growth, rising costs, and widening skills, why so many are cracking quietly at work. Kim?
Well, for what I would have to say for leaders, we are basically here to look at what your employees are doing and how that affects you as well.
So, more stats. The Wall Street Journal is reporting that Black unemployment is at 7%, and this was of August. And as the chart shows, Black unemployment has consistently remained higher than overall unemployment. And in August of 2025, it hit a high of 20, 7.2, which is the highest that we've seen since August of 2021. And as we know, that was through the height of COVID. So overall, US unemployment sits at 4.3%. And for many immigrants and first generation professionals, the lived experience is I'm showing up, but I'm unused and I'm unseen. And at the same time, we have our good friend A, who is reshaping administrative and tech roles, especially clerical and operations work, right? So that mix with higher unemployment risk plus rapid role changes, that is causing conditions for quiet cracking. Very often we're having this experience and we're seeing these changes in our workplace, but we can't really articulate how we are feeling, and that creates really a feeling of being stuck, invisible, and underutilized.
Yeah.
Kim?
Yeah. For leaders and entrepreneurs, for instance, this shows up as disengaged retention. Folks are presented, excuse me, folks seem to present um, it more emotionally and they check out. Our teams, our employees, whether you have one or several, they're checking out. Our goal today, though, is to name it and offer practical steps to move from stuck to deliberate action.
So we've talked about mid-career disengagement, but let's look at Gen Z. And when we were putting this presentation together, we realized that we're focusing more on those mid-career professionals and those people who are getting ready to leave the job market. So we doubled back to Gen Z. And economists are calling it no hire, no fire economy. So the Fed chairman himself said younger people and minorities are having a hard time even breaking in. It's not just it's that fewer jobs are being created and fewer people are leaving. So there's really no room for new talent. Kim?
Yeah, and for leaders, this should be a wake up call. If younger workers are blocked at the entry point, then your leadership pipeline will empty sooner than later. And for young professionals, the frustration can trigger quiet cracking before their careers even get started.
Mhm. And finally, Gallup is telling us that more than half of employees are unhappy at work, and nearly 1 in 5 are actively disengaged. And we all know at least one person who is actively disengaged. But here's the deeper story: disengagement is not evenly distributed. NPR points out it rises steepest among the most vulnerable, and those are immigrants, women, people of color, and those in our LGBTQ plus community. So that's the soil in which quiet cracking is currently growing. It is not just about being unhappy. It is about carrying the heaviest weight in silence while you are showing up every day. These stats, they tell us just one start of the so oh my goodness. So these stats, they're just telling us one side of the story. But as we know, the internet will always be undefeated. So TikTok is saying it another way.
I think I'm going to have to emotionally quit my job. Like, I'm still going to work there. I'm just not going to care anymore.
So if you didn't hear, our good friend at Calamity Wear, and I love him, by the way. So he says, I emotionally quit my job. And that phrase has become almost a mantra online. We keep seeing people showing up in all of these memes where more or less you're showing up physically, but mentally and emotionally, you've checked out. So, what's powerful here is how relatable it feels. So, I've seen that hashtag, things could be worse, and we are just accepting where we are. I'm sorry, it's just accepting where we are and navigating frustration, right? We are all for navigating some form of frustration, and it's humor, yes, but it's also reflecting that deeper truth. Employees are carrying on, even though, nevertheless, and in spite of what they are feeling. So here's the reality: the workplace language of 2025 is full of quiet. We've heard about quiet quitting, where people are setting boundaries, right? We've seen quiet firing, where managers are pushing employees out. There's revenge quitting. I saw a spectacular example of that about a year ago, where someone abruptly quit to send a message. And there's even disengaged retention, which is similar to quiet cracking, but you're emotionally checked out. And quiet cracking is the one that we're zooming in today. It's a bit different.
Yeah.
Right? It's when you stay, but inside you're cracking. And as I said, that's the focus of our reset today. Kim?
Yeah. So it all sounds like some of this you've already heard, some of this you've read about. So we want to address what it actually is. And then we will have some things you can do to help if you're experiencing any of these symptoms of quiet. But for leaders and entrepreneurs, this quiet cracking often shows up as disengaged, problems with retention on your teams. People are physically present, but emotionally, they just checked out. They're not performing in the same way that they did in the beginning. They're dealing with navigating their uncertainties in their work life as well as their personal life. And this can actually erode the culture of whether it's your team, your department, or your organization. It drains energy and it makes innovations even harder, thinking outside the box. But what about you as a leader? Addressing this can start with you. And so that's why we want to shine a light here, because this is where so many professionals and organizations are stuck right now.
Yep. Now that we've named the language of quiet, let's take a moment to check in. I know we've just thrown a lot of stats at you.
Yeah.
But where do you see yourself right now? So you want to select the option that feels closest to your experience. Now, the poll will launch for those of us who are currently on Zoom. But for the rest of us, you can enter where you're feeling into the chat. So let me give you some examples of each of them. But let's launch the poll. Okay, so quiet. Okay, so your quiet states, right? So here are some examples. So quiet quitting is that you're doing your job, no extra energy. Quiet cracking, you're still showing up, but inside you're feeling stuck, you're feeling unhappy, or feeling invisible even. Quiet firing, your manager is edging you out, you're feeling it, you're getting written up, you're getting extra things to do.
Yeah.
They're quietly firing you.
And then there's
Revenge
revenge
quitting.
quitting.
Kim?
Yeah, there's revenge quitting. This is where you're ready to walk out abruptly. For example, you're polishing up your resignation letter with plans to give a little notice or no notice at all because of how you're feeling, and maybe even feeling mistreated. An example of that could be someone that doesn't come back from lunch, they just quit. It's where they have decided that they're not going to come to work anymore. So that is what we can say is quiet. Let me see here. Quiet revenge quitting. But also there's the disengaged retention. This is where you're staying because it feels safer, but you're emotionally checked out. For example, you're applying elsewhere half-heartedly while doing the bare minimum at your current job. So you want to leave, but you really can't, maybe for financial reasons. You're trying to stick it out, but you're not moving forward, and you're hardly even contributing where you currently are. So,
Okay.
how does a poll look?
Well, the poll left before you can answer. Okay, so just put it into the chat. If everyone can put into the comments or the chat where they're feeling they are right now. Okay.
And just so you know, whatever you answer, there is no right or wrong here. It's just a pulse that we're taking, sometimes just identifying your current state, which can be the first step to moving forward and getting more clear about what you want to do next.
So I'm seeing quiet firing,
Mhm.
and I'm seeing never thought about quiet quitting, but that seems to be what I'm doing. Didn't think about quiet cracking. So we seem to have a wide range of emotions going on right now,
Mhm.
and quiet cracking seems to be a new thought. And yes, quiet cracking is a new form of burnt out.
Yeah.
It's a new way of saying that we are burnt out.
Is there anything else? Any other
Okay.
comments on the poll?
Hold on, let me flip back to before I left my previous job, I felt all of the above.
Mm.
Let me see if I can bring that in. And that's it, right? We're often feeling so many emotions, and it's not always available to us to name them.
Mhm.
Let me see if I can I put it in here. So let's see. Okay. So that was one of our participants. And then the other one that I copied and pasted in was burnt out.
Okay.
Right? So these are the emotions that we are feeling, and they are all valid. And they all come together in quiet cracking when you think about it, right? Quiet cracking is when you stay, but your energy, your joy, and your drive are gone. According to Gallup, 54% of employees are in this space. So you are not alone.
Mm-mm.
And I work primarily with the immigrant population. And from my clients, I'm hearing that staying often feels safer than leaving. But here's the reality, the cost of that is high.
Yeah.
Kim?
Yeah. For leaders, leaders may still hold the title, manage their team, or even drive results, but inside, the fuel is running low. The role that once energized you, made you want to come to work, couldn't get to work on time, get to work fast enough, now feels very heavy, and they find themselves going through the motions, just through the motions. Their employees as well, right? That's an example of quiet cracking for leaders, staying visible on the outside, that presence, but discontented and disconnected within.
So Andrew Middleton, another thought leader that I follow on LinkedIn, he wrote something that caught my eye, and that was, who am I when I am not being useful? And that to me is the heart of quiet practice, when we're questioning our identity.
Yeah.
What do you
It-
think, Kim?
yeah. Well, it's a powerful leadership question, too. When titles or roles stop defining us, we need to rebuild from our values and our vision, whether our core values that we started with may be put on the shelf. You know, we started great, and then all of a sudden, through time, through issues, through challenges, sometimes our values are put on that shelf. And so we need a reset, and we need to define what is most important to us now.
So in the Wall Street Journal, this young lady was profiled, Kristen Bradford. She's a mid-career professional. She was displaced, And now she finds herself stuck in retail. She has skills, but she's not getting any traction. And really, that's quiet crafting. You're showing up, but you're unseen and your skills are unused. And you're getting whatever opportunity is available to you so that you can put food on the table,
Yeah. And,
survive a
leaders
job.
face it parallelly as well. Staying in the roles, as I mentioned, or companies past the point of growth or even performing is just not being fulfilled. Knowing that there is more to life, but questioning what to do. What to do now? What's the next step you can do to move forward for yourself?
And that's where we are now. So, how do we move from cracking, which we acknowledge can be heavy and there's a lot around that? But that's where reset tools and coaching come in. So, at AdNodocs, we start everything with mindset. If you're disengaged, you want to shift to deliberate micro action. You want to see setbacks as signals. And you want to move forward from feeling invisible to being intentional. And so, Kim, what are leaders saying?
Well, with my company, Envision Career Design, and for what we do as well is we look at mindset. What are your saboteurs? What is your sages? Meaning that what are the positives you can look at? What is your emotional intelligence around this? So for leaders, this means not ignoring the signals. When you or your team or even a team member disengages, pay attention, be closer to aware to your own feelings and wondering with empathy how someone else is feeling and understanding that. It's a call to reset your mind. Not just that, but just to not just push harder to perform, but to really step back and be aware of what's happening to be able to move forward. So there are some questions I would say to consider. First question is, what is the first sign that you noticed when you were disengaged? And that's talking about the I. So if I were to talk about emotional intelligence as a leader, we're looking at the I, the we, and then all together, how we're working together. So asking that first question is the self, it's the I. What is the first sign that you noticed when you become disengaged? The second question, how do you usually respond to a disengaged team or a team member? That's the we. You're being more aware of what's going on your team. How do you usually respond to a disengaged team or team member? And then bringing it all together, what small reset question could you ask yourself to reignite your energy and reignite the energy of the team or a team member, bringing it all together, that full awareness?
So before we go deeper, let's pause and check the temperature in the room. Where are you right now? So for those of us, again in Zoom, I'm going to launch the poll. But for everyone else, you could put a 1 or 2 or 3 in the comments.
Or even a 3, if you just can't relate, this just doesn't fit for you. It's not your reality or your experience right now.
Okay, so everyone can do this way. Put a 1, a 2, or a 3 in the chat. 1 being maybe this session today is meeting your expectations and you're gaining value out of it. A 2, maybe it feels overwhelming, but you're still with us. A 3, maybe it doesn't fit your experience and you can't relate. There is no wrong answer. So coming in, I keep forgetting to go over to Facebook and LinkedIn, but a lot of people are still one. So we have one, two. So we have three ones and a two. So that's great. There's no wrong answer. Right?
Okay.
So regardless of where you are, I want you to think of getting a GPS for yourself. At Adnor Docs, we call this GPS your career compass. If you're in quiet cracking, you might feel stuck, as if you're drifting or if you're invisible.
Mm-hmm.
And this framework will help you to locate yourself. So, are you grounded, planning, searching, or in overdrive? Just as a GPS recalculates when we miss a turn, we're no longer hearing those words recalculating, but we hear the noise, right? We hear the beeps that indicate that we're recalculating.
Yeah.
This reset and using the GPS quiz that can help you reset with clarity. The key is once you know where you are, then you can decide your next step forward. Right? So, and you will have access to this quiz at the end. But right now, we want to take a look. So, I don't know, this did not move. I'm not sure what is on your screen because I can hardly see your scene. But when it comes to resume and the LinkedIn reset, here are some things that you want to make sure that you do, right? Because whenever we're in this situation or any situation, we immediately think, I need to get my resume updated. I need to get my LinkedIn updated. But I want you to pause before you do anything else. You want to clarify where it is you are going. And that would inform the keywords you use, whatever applicant tracking system you're trying to position yourself to work with, right? So you want to clarify where you are and you need to decide who needs to know you.
Mm-hmm.
And then you get to showcase your resilience, your leadership, and your impact that's relevant to the person who needs to know you. And finally, you want to align your resume, your LinkedIn, and your story. Right? So those things have to come together. So it comes down to a practical reset. So no matter where you are in your career, your resume, your LinkedIn, and your story have to work they have to work together. Think of your resume and your LinkedIn profile as living documents, dynamic and ever changing. Your LinkedIn is on 24/7. So whether you like it or not, the people who are meaning makers are looking at your profile and coming to some conclusions, right? So you absolutely want to think of those three main things. You want to clarify, showcase, and align. All right.
All right.
So
Very
Kim,
good. Yeah, very
so
good.
when we're looking at, so we looked at how three different groups could get this reset together.
Mm-hmm.
So the first would have been a job seeker. And that person will craft their LinkedIn profile, as I mentioned. You're going to add your measurable achievements to your resume and your LinkedIn profile, and you're going to sync them both for brand consistency. Kim?
Yeah. Okay. Next slide. Yeah. Let's
So for
see.
leaders and entrepreneurs,
Yeah.
you want to strengthen that about section with your values and the impact that you bring, and you want to share at least one thought leadership post per month, you
Yeah,
want to try that.
and you want to highlight a team, your team's success story or a project that you won. This builds credibility and trust. And for the
Okay.
entrepreneurs, refine your LinkedIn services page so prospects know exactly how to work with you. Making sure that you could have created a company page so those on LinkedIn can go and find out more about what's going on with your organization. Also, share a client testimonial or case study for demonstrating results. And position your brand values as part of your professional story. That's what really attracts those that are aligned, those clients that are aligned with your business. So these are just a
And
few
when
to consider. Yeah, go ahead,
Mhm.
Rhonda. Mhm.
So when we send out the replay and the attached slides, you'll have additional resources around this for each of these categories. So whether you are searching, you're leading or building, your resume and your LinkedIn are not separate. You're one person, right? They are two sides of the same story. And when they are in alignment, opportunities open. And we haven't started talking about that hidden job market yet, right? But this is how you speak to the people who need to know you. And one of the first things they see is that LinkedIn profile.
Yeah. And to keep in mind, what we're talking about now are steps towards avoiding quiet cracking and to help move you forward with energy and purpose. So let's envision a coaching reset, looking at core value clarity, redefining leadership beyond titles, and entrepreneurs where they can reset their strategy, partner with like-minded business owners, and replenish energy when creativity seems to diminish. As a business owner myself, I can relate to all of these. When leaders and entrepreneurs reconnect with their core values, their decision making becomes clearer and less reactive. Values serve as a compass. It guides that choice that feel both authentic and sustainable. So let me give you an example. For myself, when I started, even as a leader, but in starting my business, Envision Career Design, I started with a motto, and I call it the 4 F's. These are things to help me measure where I stand. The first F is about freedom, freedom to be able to create. The second is flexibility, being flexible with my time. The third F was fun, and the fourth F was finances, so they could be unlimited. And so when any of these are not in a line, I know something is going on in my organization or my business. So I want you to keep in mind, what are your values? What's important to you? And for leaders and entrepreneurs, the reset is about values and your vision. Is your vision still there? Where are your values? Are they showing up more, or have you put them on the back burner? And when your title, role, or venture no longer defines you, what now? You are still who you are. It starts with you. And for those that need a reset, consider partnering um, and replenish. I guess the best way to say this, replenish how you can move forward, create ways to get out of that that stuckness, the cracking for yourself, or even helping your employees and team do the same. And overall, when stress and uncertainty rise, and it does, it tends to do that, it raises its head, it's easy to slip into reaction mode. You just react. But when you can come back to your values, what's important to you, it can actually ground you and set that foundation. Values create a filter for your decisions that aren't driven by your fear or your urgency, but by what truly matters to you. You matter. This could be where you begin to feel more clarity, a spark of it anyway, and the confidence all of that can begin to return. You're making choices from the inside out, not from the outside in. and you're beginning to realign yourself with your best self.
So let's bring this alive. We want you to imagine a job seeker who's been applying everywhere, hearing nothing back, feeling ghosted, feeling like their skills does not matter, thinking I need to go back to school, but I already have a lot of student loan debt, right? Because that's one of the things that we think one more certification is going to be the solution here, right? That's quiet cracking. So in the hot seat, we dig into their branding, their mindset, and micro actions.
Yeah. So now think of a leader or entrepreneur whose business is running. Imagine that, whose business is running, but purpose is gone. So the business is doing okay, but the whole purpose and trying to decide what to do is that's gone. The title of the role doesn't feel like it's enough. And so in coaching, we'd like to focus on reconnecting with your values and your vision again. Quiet cracking isn't only about employees, right? Leaders and founders feel it too. We've just seen, just so to take a pause here, we've just seen how quiet cracking plays out in the real life. Now it's time to put a spotlight on you. And here's where we look at the SWOT, which is your strengths, your weaknesses, your opportunities and threats, and to check in so that you can map your own transition and your own transactions. So SWOT is a practical tool to use for your own reset. It can be used as a career transition tool. We use it in business where we help plan the strategy. And it's a technique to be able to plan and evaluate where you want to go forward, whether it's a job search, whether it's a project, whether it's your own business. So you want to write down, if you would, write down one strength, one weakness, one opportunity, and one threat. When we look at strengths and we look at weaknesses, that's the internal. When we look at opportunities and threats, we look at what's going on externally. For example, your strength could be bilingual skills. Weakness could be inconsistent with networking. Your opportunities could fall. Opportunities could be that there's a great hiring surge right now and you're ready to dive in. And another threat could be that AI is replacing some of the clerical roles. What do you do with that? And for leaders, especially, a strength could be that being more influential and your networks are growing, but the weakness could be that you're getting burned out or lack of delegation. You're not delegating, you're taking it all yourself. Opportunities could be more of that the market is now opening up and there could be more collaborations. But the threat around that is that your budget is shrinking and your team is disengaged. So again, we'd like for you to take a moment and look at what is a strength of yours, whether you're a job seeker, a leader, entrepreneur, what is a weakness, an opportunity, or threat.
Okay. Maybe a few more seconds, Kim.
Yeah, a few more seconds. Anybody would like to write it in the chat? All right, anything?
Okay.
Rhonda?
So I'm seeing fear as a weakness. And I'm also seeing, hold on, strength, willing to learn.
Mm-hmm.
Hold on. Do you want to go with the strength, willing to learn?
All right. So is anybody who's willing to?
Hold on, let me see.
Okay.
I think Kim is, let's see,
Here.
let's see. Okay, so Kim is willing to get on the hot seat with you. Give me 1 second here. Oh. Okay, Kim will be joining you shortly.
Okay. And what's Kim's? I'm a Kim. So what's Kim's last name or?
Kim Harvey.
Oh, hey, Kim Harvey.
Hello.
Hi.
Hi.
So what would you consider one of your internally a weakness or externally a threat?
So internally, one of my weaknesses is always hesitation and second guessing myself.
Okay. And any threats?
I didn't think about my threats.
Okay. Well, that's fine. Okay. And what about your strength?
One of my strength is willing to learn. I'm always willing to learn something new.
Okay, great. Okay. Usually to address a weakness is looking at your strength. You want to focus always on your strengths and manage in what you consider maybe a weakness. And so not thinking too much, like paralysis analysis, is that kind of what you experience?
Yeah, thinking too much.
Okay. So one of the things to consider is when something comes up, what one or two actions that you can take to act fast so that your brain doesn't start going into the analysis paralysis. So when you have taking a strength of yours and then applying it over what you consider, quote, I really don't like weakness, but that's the way this is set up, but a challenge that you have. So overthinking could prevent movement. And so if you're saying you want movement, then one is to take an action. So do you have an example of something that you mind sharing? Not a lot of detail, but something that maybe any of us can help you take an action on.
Right now, no. I did I just started another job. I did overcome that with this position. I didn't think too much. I just kind of went with it. I definitely prayed about it and didn't do too much thinking.
Mm-hmm.
You know, for me, I just let God lead me.
Okay.
But normally I think and I analyze and I would get inside my own head about it.
Okay. So you're aware of that, which is great. I'm glad you're aware of that. You get into your own head. The minute that happens, counteract it with what is an action you can take. And I'm looking away because there's this sign I have in my office that says, have the courage to be imperfect. It doesn't have to be perfect. Take an action. And as you practice that muscle of analysis paralysis, avoiding that, taking an action, it begins to develop. Just like when you're in the gym, you may start with 5 weights and then go to 7 weights and then go to 10 weights. Just practice. Whenever you're aware of that, there's one thing, and this is not really coaching, it's just kind of looking at the whole picture, but that's an option for you.
Okay.
What are your thoughts about that?
I think that's great advice. That's excellent advice, and not just in the career field, but in life.
And if there's anybody else that has that same situation or similar, feel free to share what has worked for you so that Kim also knows what's going on, that she can help, or others. Is there anyone that can share what you've done that's been successful in paralysis analysis? When you think too
And
deep.
you can enter this information into the chat on whatever platform that you're on.
Yeah. And we can share that with Kim.
Okay. Yeah.
Any responses?
Decide one small action, one small step. It doesn't have to be a big step.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
One small step.
One small step. Kim, thank you for sharing. I hope that you said this has been helpful. I appreciate you being courageous enough to come on. So thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. Thank you, Anonymous. I think this person is on YouTube, but I'm not sure. Here we go. All right. So one small step comes into play with micro goals and an action plan. So big changes come from micro goals. For job speakers, it could be as simple as refreshing your LinkedIn headline. I know I'm beginning to sound like a broken record, but reaching out to just one recruiter or applying to 2 aligned roles instead of scattering your energy across 20 jobs looking for anything, right? So
Yeah.
Kim, what
Yeah.
do
For leaders and entrepreneurs, setting micro goals might look like scheduling one value-driven conversation with your team. Get them involved. Another one could be clarifying direction and a quick note so that everyone feels anchored. What is the direction? What is the goal? What is it that we're trying to do as a team, as a department, as a company? Clarifying that and that they understand. Confirming that they understand. And then the third one is identifying one process you can delegate or even streamline to create breathing room so that they can be creative and you can hear what they're saying. So scheduling one value-driven conversation, clarifying direction, and identifying a process. Now, these are small steps that can stack up, whether it's a job search, whether it's leading a team, whether it's working as an entrepreneur, building. That's how you can move forward and really decrease overwhelm and to take deliberate progress and action moving forward.
Yep. So we have put together some tools of success from both Kim and I. I want you to take the GPS quiz, and I'm going to put these links into the comments so you can access them. But you can take the GPS quiz, you can access the blog post at Adno Docs, as well as book a consultation with me and we can have a conversation about how you can move on from survival jobs to a thriving career and move through quiet cracking. Okay.
And for myself,
Put these into the chat.
some of the tools are taking what I have as a values bundle, where you have your career values list and your core values clarity workbook that you can use. Also, if you want to have a quick chat with me, a 20-minute chat around what's going on, and set up a time to meet and further whatever you'd like to accomplish in your life regarding your career or your leadership, feel free to contact me.
Okay. Oops. There's a lot going on here. So, time for reflection. What landed for you today? What's the one thing that you're going to take away from our conversation today? I'm willing to go first. The person who said, take one step, and the Kims, right? The session with the Kims, the strategy session of moving forward, even though, nevertheless, in spite of what you may have in front of you, identifying one action and taking that action. So anybody else? What landed most for you today? So Kim, what landed for you today?
For me, it was the response that people are experiencing the quiet firing, the quiet cracking, quiet quitting, that it just reinforces this is some real stuff going on, and that how do you navigate around that uncertainty about what you do next. So I thought that was pretty good.
Okay, and I've put the links into the chat, and I will put them into the chat for Zoom now. All right. Thank you so much for joining Kim and I today. We really appreciate you.
Yes, we do.
And we hope that you have are now able to understand that you are not crazy and you are not alone. Quiet cracking is something that is real, and while it may be happening quietly, to us, it's a big deal. To the individual, it's heavy, and we acknowledge that that's a load that you're carrying, and I'm here to say you do not have to carry it alone. Okay?
Thank you so much.
All righty. Bye.
Bye. Be your best. Bye-bye.